Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have the second of two matches that I played against Starkiller on the Bootcamp Community Discord earlier today at the time of recording, but very much not today at the time that you guys see it, which will of course be about 3 weeks after the initial recording because we have that much queued up. I hope you guys have enjoyed the EU4 as a little bit of a change of pace. I hope you guys have enjoyed the ranked games as well. We will be going back to more team games once I'm back able to do a couple more with them with my own people on the Discord. Now this match was another USSR versus Commonwealth Marines. So I'm taking Double Phantom 2, see here FRS 1, and we're running into another unit that I don't see all that often. MiG-29M in the opener, 4 Vimple R77s, and this, believe it or not, I think is quite frankly a better air superiority fighter than the Yak because they're fire and forgets. There's 4 of them, which means they can get a guaranteed kill. But let's look at this engagement. So 1 missile away, and it's a swing and a miss. Second missile away, swing and a miss. That's some bad RNG right there. One of the Phantoms should probably be dead, but because they're not, we actually pick up the second plane as well. That was just the 65-point cheap plane from earlier, from last game as well, and that was really pretty tough. It's about 200 points lost there for my opponent very early on, and the rest of his opener was headed in toward India. So we have some Rover Wombats here, hoping to get a couple of kills, and then we have just a very light opener for me on the ground there. I did spend a bucket of points in the air, and even when they get kills, that doesn't immediately pay off on the ground. Of course, this is also up at the second command vehicle, and I was trying to spread myself out on this side as well. So we have Gazelle, we have Lynx H7s, we have a couple of SBS that I've split up. We're going to be moving them different ways, and then I kind of realized a little too late, actually, that Starkiller's intention is a strong 2-point push. Now, this is my favorite opening from Echo on this map, is to do this 2-point push, and if it works, it really is pretty awesome, but you have to be invested at least a little on the other side as well, and this is pretty crushing. So we've had 1, 2, soon to be hopefully 3 BTR ADAs killed by this Milan 2 team, actually looking to beat RDM 3, which is 35 points, and even though I lose the Milan, that's what, 75 points worth of kills right there? Actually more than that, 95 points worth of, well, no, oh, we didn't get the third ADA, so that's just 40 plus 35. 75 points worth of kills there against Starkiller's infantry fighting vehicles and fire support, which is so important here. Now, ZPT U's are 10 points. They're really kind of hilarious as fire support as well. But I've just moved my SBS back. We have Morskaya Pechota moving forward, BTR ADA. Of course, killing my Spartan, and most of my reinforcements are going to be on the ground. These are Saxons and Stallies carrying, I believe, Diggers 90 and Commandos 90 as well, just to get up into this town, but this is pretty deadly. Now, the issue for my opponent is that he has to keep this going, and my reinforcing lane is far smaller, but we do also have BTRDs, BTRTs, VDB90s, Scratchets, all that stuff moving in. My SBS won't be enough to stop him, so where my opponent is, he has some pretty potentially dominant engagements. It really is quite impressive. SBS, I was looking for that other BTR ADA, but we do get intercepted by Morskaya Pechota, and on their own, the SPS would have won that so well. It's actually pretty crazy. There goes the ADA, and now with the Morskaya and the Spetsnaz crew, this is going to be a little bit rough, but that's going to be a big old bomber, F-111C there, coming in clutch for the fight on this side, and even if my SPS do lose to VDB after this, which they still might, we've definitely gotten a fair number of kills, we've bogged down that offensive, and really made a lot of progress in Alpha as well. So SBS moving forward, Diggers 90 moving forward, Stolly moving forward. I figured by now that he certainly must have had to capture Bravo, and this kind of explains why all those points are on the ground, because there's no second command vehicle. So he just had more here than I did at the opener. Gurkha's 90 here, Diggers 90 here, and the ZPTUs, believe it or not, will get a lot of suppression damage in, even if they don't do all that much damage per se. Well, traditional damage anyway. The Diggers 90 are here for that. The Gurkhas 90 with their Law 80s are here for that as well. 700 meter range, just close enough to kill those 2 units. And the Morskaya, the Spetsnaz crew, more Morskaya, haven't yet managed to kill my SBS. So even with all those infantrymen, this is still a pretty contested fight. And the Gurkhas, the Diggers 90, should be able to win it, especially when you consider I have Double Phantom 2, I have a Sierra FA2. I was looking for that Tungushka. As it turns out, we don't get it, and I get a little bit punished here. So between the base OSA, which got the kill, and the Tungushka M, there's a lot of anti-air. My opponent has clearly learned from our last game that if I'm playing this deck, there's going to be a lot of air power, and this was a very nice punish. The Tunguska M's missile, the Osa's missile, I've seen these guys. The Osa, by the way, 7 HE power, can one-shot kill planes if it gets criticals. It's pretty goofy. 30 points. This unit's just busted. It's very, very good. However, Tunguska M getting a little too close for comfort, and if my SBS had landed their shot, that would have been dead. As it is, the Tunguska's radar gun does some pretty good work. So at this point, I was feeling a little bit nervous. I had Gurkha's 90 here, but not really anything else besides. We should be able to fight against the Spetsnaz in a vacuum, but this game is not fought in a vacuum, and we're looking to sort of clear this out. Kahu hoping for the Tunguska, and then we're going to settle for the T-64BV, of course, 120 point tank if we can get him. 1-2, there we go. Very nice kill, and even if the Kahu dies, which it looks like we won't, that still probably would have been worthwhile just to eliminate my opponent's fire support and allow my Gurkhas to move forward. We also have Gurkhas moving forward towards Foxtrot, cutting off that resupply line here, and this should allow me to keep the zone, even if it's not exactly pretty. In the meantime, SBS moving forward, SAS moving forward, probably should have gone for a little bit different positions here. SBS over on this side, and then gotten established on the ground with quick wheeled units, which I do have an abundance. Of course, I'm paying the wheeled tax for things like Stallies, which are pretty crap. They're amphibious, they're decently quick, but there's much faster with armor and guns for not that much more expensive. 5 points there does a lot, and I'd say that makes the Stallies, frankly, a bad unit. But K-29TB and my Gurkhas do not want any part of that rocket pod action, which is definitely here, so we're going to be just taking to the skies, which is what this deck is designed to do. 1-2 Phantom 2s, there's the FRS-1, it is a little bit slower, and we are splitting up just a tad to make sure that I don't get killed by a single missile. All this stuff is pretty slow, and the Yak 141 was giving me a little bit of trepidation as well, but keep in mind that Yak against the Phantom 2, yeah, it should win in a vacuum. I don't have much ECM, but I think we've just kind of gotten in Starkiller's head a little bit at this point, and that allows me to gun run one of them, use the missiles on the Phantom 2 on one of them, FRS-1, very reliable, and we take down both of those helicopters here. The Yak probably could have gotten a kill on a Phantom. It might well have died though, so I can't necessarily fault that evac, but it certainly did allow me to get a little bit of a pretty deadly bit of progress in Foxtrot. Now, Gurkha's 90, some of my favorite infantrymen, I've turned off all their weapons, because I don't want them fighting with anything until I say so, basically. I want the Law 80, and I want it to take out a lot of this armor before it has the opportunity to do anything. Now on this side, more of this survived than I had thought, or it had been reinforced after that by Starkiller, so Skreja is getting a fair bit of damage in, and we just have to pull back a little bit. I should have also been manning this town, but I didn't think there was anything this far forward, so a little bit of an oversight, and you can see the immediate Spartan buy. I didn't go all the way for this town just in case there's something that either is there now or will be there by the time I get there, but I need to have some recon here just so I can comfortably cap Charlie, which my opponent's taking +1. I have Golf, he does not have Bravo, and this is not the end of the world for me, because if we look at this map, I can cap India basically anytime. I can cap Charlie reasonably comfortably, and I can contest Alpha, at least for long enough with these units to let me get more there by the time he's really ready to push, especially with Bravo out of the commission. All of his reinforcements into Alpha have to come from Echo until he deals with this, which is very much not the place that you want to be in. So the Law 80 is off because BTRTs have 13 frontal armor, which is pretty thick. I was hoping to do a couple of fancy maneuvers here and then use the Law 80 to really get in and punish. Sapri 85, by the way, not the traditional choice. Usually with Sapri, you really want just the extra bodies. So the 85, despite having that wrist launcher that a lot of people do swear by, I tend to find that what you need is the additional health. And, you know, people will do what they will use the units that make the most sense for them, that have the best success for them, but I certainly do recommend trying out the beefier version of the same thing. So my Diggers 90 are taking a little bit of a walloping. I'm going to have to deal with this relatively soon, at least by making a little bit of a screening force down here, but I really don't mind all that much if my opponent takes Delta, because again, we have a nice forward position. So let's speed up just a little, as this game does sort of get into the middle zone, and with such a big map, we were both sort of figuring out what we want to do here. But this is what I'm talking about. Sapri down to 4 strength. They haven't really done all that much damage to the Gurkhas, and this is 30 points worth of infantry. So by getting kills there, that's pretty nice. We did get one of them down, nearly a second. and I just did intercept the Gornstrelki 90. I figured it was definitely well. Probably should have been a bit more careful about my micro here, and that was my opportunity, but the Law 80 is off, so if I'd shot in, that would have been a side shot on the BTRTs right here. Still have an opportunity for it, but the Law 80 is still off, and now I'm stunned. Now I'm taking additional fire. I thought it was on. That would have been a second side shot. Both these BTRTs, 25 points apiece, probably would be gone. As it is, I'm just getting wrecked by their grenade launcher. Now I have it on, but it's going to be a little bit too late. We do miss, and it's just... that was one of those where micro sort of came and bit me in the keister, so not exactly ideal. But it does happen from time to time, and you have to keep in mind, particularly on larger maps, you're not going to be able to micro everything successfully. So this is probably an instance where I should have left the guns all on, including the Law, and just allowed them to have the fights that they could have, seeing just how it went from there. So double BTRT, BTR-90, spotted because of the SPS, which is good enough for me. We will have our planes back up and ready pretty soon, and here comes a Kahu. I was hoping for a BTRT. We'll settle for a BTR-90. Ooh, actually, flip that. Just managed to get a BTRT right at the edge of that column. My apologies. And this just seems like a bit of a pick 'em apart strategy. USSR relies on critical mass, and that is not something that my opponent has right now. It's something we can definitely take advantage of. The fact that it doesn't yet have that. And down goes another 25-point BTRT. This is paying for a lot of the losses that we took early on, which were non-negligible, right? We lost some infantry, we lost at least one plane, I should say, to that Tunguska, which has been withdrawn back into Foxtrot. And this is going to be... so we were in voice chat at the time, and I was pretty much saying, yeah, this is going to be hard to recover from. It's sort of... when you do this 2-point push, you need to be able to make sure that you don't lose the other side as well beyond repair, which is a hard thing. It's a tall order. I understand it's hard. It's not simple. If it was simple, people would do it all the time. As it is, if my opponent had managed to contest Alpha, had 1 Delta, then the 2-point push, if it had been successful, would have been a lock for the game, but a lot of those ifs just haven't materialized. So India is, of course, blue. Alpha is now blue. I've capped Alpha just to get up to a +5, and really just make it so that even if he countercaps here, even if he pushes me out, there's a lot of space to go. That was the intention. It just was a bit of a friendly fire there, bombing run off the F-111C. It was just to put this away as quickly as I could because, I don't know, because why not, right? It is Conquest, play the objective, and I had the space to play the objective without getting pushed too much in any one spot. That is changing now. We have Spetsnaz Gru moving forward, but they are taking a fair bit of fire, and this is something... so Gornostrelki 90, I don't know how well they do in combat. I have to imagine that one of the issues with my opponent's deck is just the sheer amount of expensive infantry instead of cheaper tools. So Gornostrelki 90, 25 points. I don't know what they came in for this deck. Quite possibly the BTR 90 or a helicopter. I think there was an MIA MTV. I think the issue is that USSR just does need numbers. So there's a discussion going on about this, I think, recently on the boot camp about Soviet units. And there's the classic trope that Motostrelki are just bad, but a unit being bad is a separate thing from it being necessary. And I think for USSR you definitely need line infantry. You shouldn't expect them to kill everything or even most things, but I think it is a requirement. So Assault Pioneers moving forward, doing a bit of playtesting with these guys between yesterday's video and today, and I wanted to see how much infantry they could take on at once without having too big of a problem, and certainly it's a lot more than I expected. So the Spetsnaz Gru stunned down to 6 men. Of course, just killing them alone pays for the Assault Pioneers. 30 points for the single one, 30 points for the double stack, and this was very brutal. We get the kill there. SBS is looking for the kill on the BRDM-3, but they have to stop in order to fire their Carl Gustav, so we're going to do that right now. And there's the aim, there's the fire, there's the kill. And if the Assault Pioneers can follow up on Morskaya Pechota, I mean, that's pretty crazy. I'm going to have to use these guys more often. By the way, if you know anything about this, I'm happy to see it in the comments. I turned off their primary because it had a longer range than the M9 Napalm. And while I was attack moving these guys, which I don't even know if I need to do, can they fire their napalm? Well, can they fire their flamethrowers rather while walking? I don't know. I guess if we look at the tags, it does say static, so I'm assuming not. then if you attack move, outside, well, max range in forest, that's the answer is going to be. Yeah, fair enough. Outside of a forest, they would stop when their primary got in range. Inside of a forest, that should match the vision that the Assault Pioneers have. So the only issue you're going to have there is if something else is spotting them first, and then they might use their machine guns. But even then, I don't really know how well that works. So my opponent has cap Delta, but with the India and Alpha caps definitely locked down. We're ticking +4, and these OSAs get a bit too close. That's 30 points. We have another 30 points right here. For the SBS, just able to reload the Carl Gustav M2 at their leisure. And now this guy has paid for himself twice over, which is very nice, and still made a nuisance of himself in Bravo. So always take apart your opponent's backline when you can, and that's exactly what we've done there. Now, BTRD, this is about the time I need to be either pushing in Delta and reinforcing Alpha, or just reinforcing Alpha and making sure I can hold the zone, as India has been largely fine, and I'm pretty sure Starkiller is a little bit tired of losing points in that area, which I certainly understand. I think at a certain point you have to just throw everything at the wall, because if you're going to be losing the fight, you may as well fight your hardest, and that is certainly a point that is swiftly approaching. Milan 2, though, doing decently good work, and we should be able to fend off these Razvedka very quickly. So, as far as games go, I still am not entirely sold on this particular deck. I think it could be funny. I think it has a lot of potential to be funny. But funny and good are two very different things, and I think, quite frankly, today and yesterday I benefited from having a different idea of what's going on the battlefield and how to achieve that through deck building. Right? I think the Gornish Jockey 90 card might be a mistake, and that the Morskaya Pechota card is almost certainly a mistake. Now, my opponent has finally capped Bravo, double Yak 141, it's going to be a lot more reliable for kills, and we did lose the Sea Harrier FRS-1, so that right away is showing you this is it's a powerful thing. Using two of them at once, two of those airspeed fighters at once, is very powerful. But that is going to be all we've got for you guys today, as my opponent does take a couple extra losses, realizes what I have in Alpha so far, and is just going to surrender rather than take that fight. So kills losses, pretty tight, honestly, 1240 versus 1000. I lost a lot of points, particularly on Starkiller's 2-point opening and the following up afterward, and also his opener into Delta. I mean, my infantry got mulched, my helicopters got mulched. It was definitely not the place I wanted to be all the time. But standout units are going to be the Phantom 2 that killed the 29M, definitely punching above his weight class. Milan 2 with a couple of kills there. F111C, always good. Double Saber 85, double Spetsnaz Screw. Doesn't quite pay for himself there, but if the game had gone longer, I have no doubt the F111C would have gotten a couple more clutch kills. Kahu with some very expensive tanks, and finally Gurkha's holding the line, getting a couple of kills, BTR 90, BTRT. These guys are the ones that walked forward and bravely took one for the team as they got just a little bit overwhelmed by the USSR firepower that came their way. So that's going to be all I've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.